Welcome back to Dead Reckoning. I'm Dr. Brian Mattson, and we've got a real treat for you today in part of our effort here to keep bringing back returning guests. We have yet another returning guest. You see, we decided that we had all these audio podcast guests that you just really needed to see. So now that we're on video, we decided to bring back our friend Janet Sahm. She is the style editor for Verily Magazine, one of Jay and I's favorite magazines. That's kind of weird. It's a women's magazine, but it is one of our favorites anyway. Janet is coming to us from New York City. Janet, welcome back to Dead Reckoning.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we are delighted to have you back. We understand there's some changes coming to Verily Magazine, some big changes, and when we heard, we were really bummed and thought, well, we got to get Janet on the show to tell us about the changes.
Yes. So Verily Magazine started as a print publication, and we had a website that had daily content, something new every day. And we really, we've published, technically 4 issues, and the last being in Barnes & Noble, and we had a lot of great momentum and support. But we've been really fundraising just to keep the business sustainable and to keep it going. And as a startup, the world of startups is always tough. So the past 4 months, we've sort of transitioned Verily to make it more of a content website. So we'll be putting the print magazine actually on hold for the time being. And there's no set date, of when we'll bring it back. We certainly hope to. But for right now, we're going to have all of our content online and even in greater abundance. So instead of 1 article a day, we'll be upping the content to a few articles a day. And we really want to create an engaging online community where we can reach even more women in some ways through this kind of online social media connection that we can really create. So that's the new kind of move for us, and we're really excited. We really think it's happening for a reason, and we're trying our best to keep it going.
Well, that sounds great. I mean, it seems to me that in a certain sense, doesn't that seem the direction that the world is going anyway? I mean, seems as though web content is going to outpace print magazines eventually anyway. So, I mean, I guess there's a way you could look at this and say, well, Verily is kind of going to be on the cutting edge of this.
That's right. I mean, it's funny because when we approach the topic of a magazine, let's say we're speaking to an investor or, pitching a magazine, women's magazines, they say, oh, print is dead, this isn't going to last. Well, women's magazines are on the rise, and they're quite a good venture, actually. They're actually rising and pretty steady. So it's funny, most other print mediums, whether it's a very niche publication or more newsy things, those are dying. But women's magazines aren't going anywhere anytime soon. But I think you're right, the long haul, 10, 15 years down the road, to even think about that, creating a media company, it is really important to make sure that you have a thriving online website and a kind of engagement with your readership through the internet, through kind of real time. So you're right, that is the direction media is going. We know women love print though, and always will. So it's kind of a hard balance to strike.
It's kind of hard to, you'd have to set an iPad next to the toilet,
It's dangerous, right? All the water and all the bathrooms.
Yeah, actually, Jay's laughing at me here because he says that his wife actually does do that. So. So, well, have you considered? Have you considered? I mean, some magazines are some that I subscribe to actually have just created iPad versions for the iPad newsstand app, where you can actually just reproduce your print magazine on a digital device. Are you guys planning maybe to go that direction?
We're in discussion right now. That is certainly an idea. We actually started back in 2012. Verily was on similar to the iPad version, where you could click through almost a simulated magazine experience.
Right.
We used issue.com at the time, and then we were able to transfer that to an iPad. But I think it's something to talk about, because I think there is somewhat of a disconnect. It's not, women especially aren't as, I shouldn't speak for all women, but a lot of women aren't as drawn to sort of click through a magazine. It's not the same experience. It's meant for, I think, a different type of content, where a women's magazine might be more aspirational, more, you think of big fashion shoots. It's a very different connection when it's something in your hand rather than just kind of clicking through on the computer. And it's hard to read long form articles in that way too. So it's we're trying to figure out the best way to tackle that. And it's an exciting time because it's a new frontier for a lot of magazines, but we'll experiment with that and probably get back to you.
Okay, good. Well, it's funny, we just launched right into this conversation, and it occurs to me that, we have new viewers, we have people who have no idea who you are and no idea what Verily Magazine is. So what a great host am I, right? Here we are 10 minutes into this, and we don't know. Well, Janet, tell us, what is Verily Magazine? How did it come about? Whose idea was this, and what makes this idea great?
Absolutely. So, I actually had the idea for Verily about three and a half years ago. Verily Magazine I'll go what it is. Verily Magazine is a new women's fashion and lifestyle publication that's really just trying to talk about things women love, but do it in a way that respects their dignity, that kind of talks about what does it mean to live as authentic women in the here and now and today, and to engage with the culture, to celebrate fashion, to talk about relationships and not just sex tips or manipulation, or to talk about really kind of hard-hitting cultural issues that no one else is really talking about. And so Verily, it really kind of reflects the whole person, the whole woman, and we're really celebrating that. Our whole tagline is less of who you should be and more of who you are, because we believe most magazines on the newsstands believe you should be this, you should be that, 5 pounds thinner, this much more sexier, this much more confident. And we think women are already wonderful and beautiful as they are. And so we want to help them become the best versions of themselves. So that's kind of what Verily is. And I started the idea about 3.5 years ago. Myself kind of approached, it was a group of girls over brunch lamenting how women are portrayed in media, which is no new news. This is
sort of like the anti-Sex and the City thing, right? You're all having brunch.
Opposite conversation, exactly. Yeah. We're like, we don't want to live our lives like this. We don't want to be the Cosmo girl. We're miserable doing that. Like, that's not even, and women from all different backgrounds. And so I was already researching. I'm very passionate about fashion and what it can do for women. And I had experience at Elle Magazine in the fashion news department, and interned and worked for them for about over a year, but I hated it. And I really went through, it was the Devil Wears Prada experience, as well as just myself, my own life, going through a total reversion. My life took a 180. I fell in love with Christ all over again, with the teachings of the church. I realized so many beautiful truths that I just wanted to see reflected in culture, in the everyday culture. And I thought, why is there no modest fashion and not having to say it's modest and just have it be beautiful? Why is there no real relationship advice that actually helps women? It doesn't have to necessarily be Christian. It could just be something that is very true. And so that's why Verily is a secular publication. And we think we can really reach a lot of women because the desires of their heart are to be beautiful, to be loved, and to live a good and happy life. And so we want to help women do that.
And it's so successful. I mean, that's the thing. I get your magazine, and it is an amazing publication. So for our viewers who have not seen the magazine, or sadly now never will see the magazine, they'll have to go to the website. Your combination. You were becoming quite well known as a publication that simply didn't Photoshop your photo shoots. You were displaying these women as they really are, real women, instead of plastic mannequins.
That's one of our biggest PR kind of hits that really went viral is our no Photoshop policy. And what we mean by no Photoshop, it's kind of a catchy headline because that is very trending right now. You think about the Dove Real Beauty campaign, right. And you think about all these, so the no Photoshop is what our policy is that we vow never to alter the face shape nor the body shape or the structure of any woman. And so we keep freckles, we keep her crow's feet, we keep little imperfections because we think that actually makes women who they are and beautiful. And so that's actually quite, it's not very noticeable, but at first, but we had a one-piece swimwear spread and someone commented, oh my gosh, I love the girl's moles on her back. And oh my gosh, I love her freckles. And look at that. It's amazing what it can do for women. It's something just as subtle as that. So of course we Photoshop for lighting, and any high-res images have to go through Photoshop in order to be presentable. So it's kind of, a lot of people are like, well, you Photoshop. Well, it's like, well, yes, we do, but we never change the shape of a woman's body, or we don't, alter her face, which a lot of magazines, almost every single cover does.
One of the things that is striking about looking at an issue of Verily Magazine with this no Photoshop thing is it's only when you do that you realize how saturated we are as a culture into photoshopped images, because it's almost just a shock. It's like I'm looking at a totally different kind of thing in my hands here. These are real people. This is it's actually quite surreal in a way. Just a testament to how powerful media is, and the narrative that media has pushed in this culture for a long time. So you found women responding, I imagine, to this.
Gosh, yes. And the visual messaging. I mean, people put so much emphasis on the content, but the visual is just as powerful, if not more. And a lot of women, they say after 3 minutes of reading any fashion magazine, 75% of women feel worse about themselves. And every single woman who's ever read Verily, well, I shouldn't say ever, the ones who respond to us, they said it's a breath of fresh air. I feel like I want to be a part of the magazine. I feel myself in there, and I feel so much better and hopeful and hope-filled to live a better life. So that's exactly what magazines should be doing and what they claim to do. But Verily is it's through the subtle changes and the way that we reflect women that they really resonates. So,
well, one of the things that also strikes me about the magazine is, don't get me wrong, I say I love the magazine, Jay says he loves the magazine, right? And so guys must be going, these guys are flipping through, fashion spreads. What in the world is going on? One of the things that Verily does, one of the things that you do is, this is, I know it's sometimes a joke that the man says, well, I just read it for the articles. Well, we do read Verily for the articles, because you have an amazing team put together, and your content is so substantive. That was a conscious decision on your part, I imagine.
Absolutely. And again, it's certainly, I said, well, I helped start the idea of it, but we have talented editors and women on our team. Even the kind of our culture section is really thriving. We can tackle, what's amazing through the medium of magazines is that you can talk about issues through storytelling, through journalism, and you don't really have to necessarily have an agenda, but you can talk about things that might not be talked about in the popular culture. For instance, we had an article that went viral. It's on, actually, just for people to know, a lot of our print content is on our website.
Which is, the address is?
Yes, it's verilymag.com.
Verilymag.com, perfect.
So the one article, for instance, we talk about is a higher education wasted on stay-at-home moms. That's kind of the idea. And so we had a woman, through her own story, tell a really beautiful, engaging kind of grappling with this question. And that's kind of one example. Or we can talk about, it's something more serious, even the kind of rape warfare in Egypt, and had an investigative piece. So we're able to talk about those more heavy-hitting issues and women's issues in a way that doesn't close any doors, I think. So for women, any women who are interested in really learning and growing can find that in Verily.
Yeah, and it's not condescending. I mean, it seems to me most magazine editors, women don't want to read that. Well, really? So Verily Magazine will not condescend to you. They're going to give you good content.
We will never speak at you, and we will never exactly condescend. We really invite women. As a writer, our editorial philosophy is to treat women as our best friends, and we certainly don't pretend to have it all together, nor to know it all, because we're learning and growing too. So we're just inviting women to join us in that, and I think hopefully it comes through in our content. So thank you.
All right. Well, we need all of our viewers to go now. Do people? How do they get involved in the Verily Mag online community? Do they sign up? Do you subscribe to it?
Yes, so thank you for asking that. You can go to www.verilymag.com, and you can sign up for our email newsletter list. And, we won't bug you if you don't want to, but we do have regular weekly updates on our content and what's trending. And our Facebook community is absolutely thriving. You'll see all our articles up there. You can join our Facebook page, and a lot of times we have commentary, and, we are going to be growing our online community. So I think with ways that we'll do that, we'll be with video, we'll be with engaging with our readers and having more open forums for conversation, to just issues that matter most to women, or even something as fun as just fashion tips. So it's going to be really fun, and a lot more of it. So you'll see multiple articles a day from us pretty soon.
It's terrific. I see. You guys put out a lot of little picture memes with inspirational quotes on them, and that comes through my Facebook feed all of the time.
That's one of our biggest marketing tools. We never thought. It's something that sort of happened naturally and organic. So what you're talking about are our daily doses, is what we call them. And it's a beautiful image with an inspirational quote. And we post those on Facebook and on our website, and they get shared like mad.
Yeah, they're good.
So many people have found us through one of their best friends posted a Verily Magazine daily dose, an inspirational quote, or they'll put them on their Facebook backgrounds. And it's great to see, because it does. So many women will say, oh my gosh, I needed this today, or oh, I needed to send this to my friend, and thank you for being such a little light. And so it's really beautiful. And I think that way it's sort of taking something inspiring and being able to just share that in our everyday lives, as simple as a daily dose. So that's one of our our top Facebook kind of online community
That
things.
must be why it's showing up in my news feed. It's one of your top things. Well, Janet, you said the word, taking a beautiful picture and putting a quote. And I wanted to just tell you that that's not an exaggeration. One of the things that is so fantastic that I've noticed about Verily Magazine is your commitment to excellence. The aesthetic quality, the beauty of your photography, of your layout, your design, and this is true just not only in the print version, but the web version. It is so clear that you are competent and you have a commitment to excellence that it's not often seen. And I just wanted to commend you guys and tell you, just from my point of view and Jay's point of view here at Dead Reckoning and our audience, we appreciate so much your excellence in what you do, and we really encourage you to keep it up. And we sure hope that you guys can are successful going into the future, because this is an important thing.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Visual quality and taste level and that kind of excellence. We thank you. That's quite an honor for us to hear that. That's what we're striving for. But we know it never has to suffer for the sake of the content. They should be married. The content, the goodness of the content should be reflected in the way that it's packaged and the way that it's presented. And that can actually evangelize in a lot of ways. Good art, good visuals, that can touch people's hearts. And that can be actually the foundation, the starting point for someone to even be interested in the truth.
Yeah.
And that's the first sort of little step for anybody, because that's one, I think we can all agree on beauty. Anybody, all different faiths, all different backgrounds, we all are drawn to it and to the goodness of it. So it's a good starting point.
That's absolutely right. Well, God is beautiful, and so we reflect Him when we reflect beauty. So that's great. Janet, Sahm, thank you so much for coming on. We're a little less bummed now because you did such a great job. Explaining why this is all good. And so we are so glad to have you back on our show. And so, Dead Reckoning viewers, please visit verilymag.com, follow, get involved, pass it on to all of your friends. You will not regret it, I promise. Janet, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.